Oh yes, we're switching gears now. It's very related to business. What it is, we'll be discussing in this very next segment. We're joined now by two guests via Zoom, Chibike Good News and Mr. Shola Adekonye. Mr. Chibike Good News is the CEO, that's Chief Executive Officer of Do Change Digital. I do hope I'm pronouncing that company name correctly. And Mr. Shola Adekonye is the CEO, Open Innovation Access. And in this next segment, we're talking about the digital ecosystem and how it is we can catalyze growth through technology. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us on Sunrise early this morning.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
One of the things that we're still trying to come to terms with, that's to take in the full effect of what has happened, is Dirty December. I'm sure that you might have heard that term, especially for Mr. Adekonye, who lives in California. I know that term might have come to you. We're still trying to come to terms with just how much accrued to the country through the activities, through the commercial activities that came through Dirty December. And a lot of it was digitally enabled. It happened through digital platforms. The advertising that went out, making Nigeria a place for tourists to want to come to Nigeria, was through digital platforms. The transactions that made it possible for them to be able to come to the country also happened through digital platforms. The fact that we're also able to track how much has accrued to the country as a result of all the activities around December is because a lot of them happened through digital platforms. How hopeful are you that we'll be able to perhaps maximize or even make more optimal what it is that we've been able to achieve so far as optimized through Dirty December, through our digital platforms, make it even bigger in 2025? Let me start with you, Mr. Adekonye.
Well, I mean, well, first of all, thanks for having me. I am very hopeful because definitely technology is paramount to our economic growth. I'm also very hopeful because we do have government officials and leaders who are supporting this effort as well. We see efforts coming from the Ministry of Innovation and Digital Economy, and then also the Ministry of Creative Economy as well. So I'm very hopeful that we would see more and more advancement and contribution from both economies, digital economy and also the creative economy, contributing largely to the overall Nigerian economy. One thing I must say though, which is a bit concerning, is that we somehow see technology as an end product in itself, which is a wrong way of thinking about it. The creative economy in itself is the ultimate resource and ultimate contributor to the economy. If you look at the U.S. economy, the creative economy contributes about 50% to the U.S. economy by itself. But what we are starting to see in Nigeria is a start. We see policies being implemented and being being implemented by some of these ministries, which is a good start. But we can't end there and then see technology in itself as an end product. We have to see technology. We have to change our perception. Technology is an enabler, enabling that creative economy to be able to, really unleash itself, because human creativity is inexhaustible. Technology in itself, can churn out a bunch of, tech, startups. And then what else? We saw a lot of enabling in Dirty December, which invited a lot of people. But then what else were people able to do other than gather socially and just have fun? There's not a lot that were there for people, trade, art, and things that people could contribute that could also participate in it to really contribute much largely to the Nigerian economy. And that's where I'm hopeful. We're starting to see some efforts in the creative economy as well. We just recently partnered with them as well to just continue to revitalize that sector. But we are hopeful that if these two ministries or two areas continue to grow and continue to enhance and create that enabling environment for Nigerians, we would see much more growth and contribution to the Nigerian economy from these two areas.
Well, Mr. Good News is here in Nigeria with us. I do not know whether you saw, because Mr. Adekoye just said that it does appear that we see it more as an end in itself. Do you think that that's really how Nigerians see it, or would you say we're embracing it more and more? We are realizing that it is truly an enabler, given what it has been able to do, especially through what we saw during Dirty December?
I see, first of all, thank you for having me. Happy New Year, even though it's coming a bit late. I see digital economy as an emerging economy itself in Nigeria. It's also coming from the fact that Nigeria has a huge population and we have very huge entrepreneurial drive, and a lot of things are happening digitally. And then we have a fantastic diaspora community, which Nigerians that have gone outside are probably doing well, and a very strong culture that makes sure that everyone that has gone out of Nigeria somehow has a root here and will always come back. And those the framework, and also the fact that Nigeria as a country, we're leapfrogging the digital journey. Instead of going through the normal way that the other countries did, we jumped to the mobile economy and leveraging on the fact that a lot of us can quickly learn and update on our digital devices, and then we join the digital economy. And also the fact that a number of things that need to be activated in Nigeria have started seeing the attention. Take, for instance, the fact that Nigeria is a tourist destination. Many years back, Nigeria was never seen as a tourist destination, as much as we have people going home. We have people coming back to Nigeria, but we never saw that as deliberate acts. Now, by the time we have a deliberate intervention in that, especially by authorities and also the private sector, then you start seeing activities coming on that. Now, the fact that we had this in 2024, it ignited something that by 2025, we're going to see a mad rush. Then, if we can capitalize on that and put a lot of mechanisms in place, we'll see a lot of inflow of human beings, inflow of funds, inflow of a whole lot of things, and that's a huge economic addition to whatever to the economy of Nigeria.
Well, there are those who say that, it does appear that this is happening in one area. If you go to places like Lagos, excuse me, perhaps Abuja, Kano, the cities in those places, people understand what you're talking about, especially, maybe not everyone, but a certain section clearly understands what it is you're talking about when you start to talk about a digital economy. We say our internet and our mobile phone penetration, especially mobile phone, is quite high. However, we still know that there are disparities and that it is unequal in many other places. So I was wondering how you think we can ensure equitable access, how we can get everybody along. No one is left behind, be they in rural areas, be they in urban areas, that everybody is carried along with this tide that seems to be sweeping the country. I don't want to say sweeping us away, but is carrying on in many urban centers of the country.
Okay, let me say it has to start somewhere. The digital infrastructure which enables connectivity to the internet, unfortunately, Nigeria is powered by the private sector, and they consider a number of factors before they deploy their facilities. Take, for instance, they need to consider income, concentration of people, power, and a whole lot of factors. And you see, that's why you see cities like Lagos, Port Harcourt, Abuja, and a few cities seeing that. But I see that there's no country that achieved everything uniform in a single blow. It all moved from one station to the other. And you see that the 5G in Nigeria is just a number of cities that is available, but it's spreading. When telecoms came, internet connectivity came, it all started from the cities and then it started spreading. And as we go on, it starts to spread. And it's not just peculiar to Nigeria. If you look at other countries, even at advanced countries, some of their villages don't have 5G connectivities. And they have the best of internet infrastructures in the cities. So as the economy grows and we have more and more demands, and then they keep moving to that. I also have information that the telcos are also mapping out cheaper and more affordable ways to spread the internet connectivity. So a lot more people in rural areas will begin to get connected, and with the coming of maybe Starlink, making it more easier, and then the fiber networks also making it easier for people in rural communities to connect. But a key factor for people in rural communities is purchasing power, because it's not just the internet connectivity that is there. It's also the fact that you need a smartphone, and and a smartphone right now, it's not looking at the FX issues and other factors. Smartphone is not really available for everybody. You see more of feature phones in those areas, but in the cities you see more of smartphones. So that's why you see more of the digital activities will be happening on the cities, but it will keep spreading, and a lot of people will now get in, and we will be growing the economy. We have over 150 million people on the internet out of 220 million. And out of that, we still have a lot more to do. Even in the 150 million that are on mobile phones, internet connectivity is just about 70 million. So there's still a lot to do, and it's still spreading. And as that infrastructure is spreading, more people are joining, and the prices of phone are also going to get cheaper. The more people will join the digital economy.
All right, I'm sure my colleague Ayo has questions for you in Lagos. Over out to you, Ayo.
Thank you, Malkwe. Let me begin with Mr. Adekoye. For me, one issue that I've always talked about is how we handle data. Number one is that of data harmonization, where we can pull data for anything we need from one central pool within the country and not have them in, scattered all over the place. The other issue is that of data domestication, where we store as much data as we can in country. Of course, we know that Nigeria's data infrastructure is still very much evolving, with limited local data centers in comparison to developing economies. How much of a challenge is that for you, Mr. Adekoye, as we maximize our digital economy in Nigeria?
Yes, I'm mute.
Can you hear me? Mr. Adekoye, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Do you get my question?
Sorry, you were on mute. I didn't hear the question at all.
Okay. So you can hear me well now?
Yes.
Okay. Awesome. So one challenge that I've always had is that of two issues: data centralization and data domestication. Data centralization, in that rather than have them all, scattered all over the place, we have them in one central pool where we can pull them out at any single time. The other is that of data domestication. Of course, you understand what that means, especially at a time when our nation's digital infrastructure is still evolving, and very limited local data centers in comparison to developing countries. As we try to maximize our digital economy in Nigeria, how much of a challenge do you see that being?
I think the problem really, if I may start with that, is that we lack one thing, which is open innovation in itself. Yes, to Mr. Chubuke's point, and also to your point, we have all of the talent. We have the technology, the advancement, and we have advanced technology. But what we lack is the infrastructure and the private sector. The private sector cannot afford all that infrastructure itself to digitalize or to domesticate or localize, data, and to be able to store data to the extent that we need to really be able to mine it for our use and for our benefit. The government has to participate in this. Public-private sector collaboration is the only way to achieve this. Because if you really look at the Nigerian economy, the most productive time ever was in 1970. And since then, productivity has declined. Productivity increase or productivity growth has declined because not a lot of people can participate. Not a lot of people can afford the infrastructure to be able to make this happen because there's less and less government participation and less of government involvement and support. But we're starting to see some improvement in the government support. So very hopeful that as government gets more involved to support the private sector, then we would be able to accomplish a whole lot more. Localize data, be able to mine the data, be able to amass all the data that's in different pockets in different places, and we can also centralize them. But there's going to be need for massive infrastructure. There's not enough investment in the private sector in itself, because if you look at the number of VCs we have, they're trying, they're investing. Everyone is investing. Foreign companies, investors are all pouring money in, but it's still a scarce commodity in itself. It can't really go around and support that economy unless the government really comes in with massive investment in this area to support. We're seeing some improvement in that area, but that's the only way out. We need open innovation. We need government, private, public-private sector collaboration to be able to achieve this.
Well, that's quite a tall one. Well, Mr. Good News, what's your take? My issue, Mr. Chibuike Good News, is that we will catalyze. We definitely are on the way, but with limited infrastructure to harness the loads of data that we should be gathering, how will we be able to catalyze if we don't upscale?
Okay, I'll look at it in two aspects. One is the fact that for government, priorities are quite different. For a number of African countries, priorities are on food, shelter, clothing. And so digital infrastructure is sometimes limited to the background. And that affects the speed at which we catch up. But if we have more time or more attention given to the digital infrastructures, then we can catch up, because nations have leapfrogged the growth because of digital infrastructure. Take, for instance, China and India. But my second thought is the fact that Nigerians are very smart people. I must say that Nigerians have very ingenious and great guys that can work around it. We also see the fact that whilst the public sector is crawling around it, the private sector is flying on that. And I see that as time goes on, Nigerians will keep taking advantage of the opportunities that are there and leapfrogging all that. But for that infrastructure to happen, you will see a lot more happening from the private sector, a lot more investment from the telcos. There's also multinationals coming into Nigeria, because there's a huge opportunity here, over 150 million people, and that's far more than the population of some countries. So if we see an increase in maybe purchasing power or stability in key sectors or key things in our economy, you will see private sector start investing in infrastructure that will help our digital economy grow. And hopefully, government, which is the biggest investor in that place, could increase their pace. But I think the present administration has made some appointments and have some great guys in the system that could make that happen.
How about the engagement of the next generation, the younger population? They are at the center of it. How do we leverage? What do you think are the hurdles we need to cross to be able to maximize our leverage, which is the youth population? Someone said that Africa is the youngest continent in the world, and Nigeria has the largest population of young people. Do you think we are in any way significantly engaging these young people, particularly in the digital space?
Yes, I would say we are, but I have some reservations around that. The digital economy is divided into producers and consumers. And what is the difference between the two is knowledge. Who has better knowledge? No, the guy with a better knowledge is the producer, and is the person that creates the environment, creates the digital tools, creates the softwares, creates the digital products which are consumed by the consumers. And we've seen that the trend of the richest men in the world today are mostly digital, and that's because they are the producers of the digital economies, the smartphones we use today, the internet search engines we use today, the innovations around vehicles and all that, is because they are producers. And the younger economy or the younger generation, we have to deliberately push for them to be more of producers than consumers, because if you're the consumer, you're the one contributing to the economy. But if you're the producer, you're the one taking more advantage from the economy. There's a country, Croatia, a very small country, and one of the biggest companies there, there's a unicorn, is a company that is producing digital services across the world. Now, if we have a younger population that is huge, what we can tap in there is to make sure we are injecting the fact that they can become creators, they can become developers, they can become founders and entrepreneurs in the digital economy, not just content creators, not just consumers, but owners of the platforms. Now, I manage a lot of platforms and I integrate a number of platforms. I know the data around the internet. You will see that in Asia, they build applications that are used across Africa. And every minute we spend on the internet, we're making those guys richer. Now, how many apps or platforms do we have in Nigeria that have over 10 million users apart from the banking apps? How many of them are generating revenues? Now, but we have fantastic youth population, youngest population. In fact, Gen X is going to be better than Gen Z in terms of digital usage. But what percent of them are producing solutions that will create digital digital revenues for this country? Now we're going into a digital politics where countries want organizations that are building digital platforms to domicile in their country. You look at the case of Telegram, a Russian domiciled in US, and when the Arabs discovered that they needed to have a place there, they made the guy a citizen. And this is a digital politics that's going on.
Okay. Well, it's quite instructive, Mr. Good News, that you raise it that way. But I like to take that same issue to Mr. Adekonye, and I'll twist the question in a little, Mr. Adekonye. Let me close my question with what Marquez started with, Dirty December. I hope you know it's already a brand tag. CNN has carried it to the fact that it's a page for it on Wikipedia. And Mr. Fashola was speaking, former governor of Lagos, to it, and said, oh, it's already a brand. And one of the things he said significantly, which Marquez also underscored, is that a lot of the activities came through digital transactions, and that's the only way we could record them. That's the reason I asked the question of data the other time. So what are the opportunities for young people? One of the things that Mr. Fashola said is, are we planning for the next one, this Dirty December thing? And that's perhaps the only one for now. Others will come up, we're very ingenious like that. How do we create opportunities for young people in this digital space so that when the opportunities arise, they are ready?
I think one of the things that we're doing right is that we are improving and providing a lot of education and also a lot of resource poured into the digital economy itself and the digital enablement. But what's missing is creativity, and that's the only thing, because we have the youngest population, but not everyone could be a tech person. If we just train maybe 50 million people, 100 million people to just be able to code, then Dirty December, there's not a lot of creativity that could be sold or that could be monetized during Dirty December, other than maybe inviting people in and then there's social gathering. But to really harness that young population, the creativity has to be developed. We need creativity encouraged. We need art school. We need, just imagine Dirty December itself, that there's a lot of arts. There's a lot of arts that are already developed, a lot that could be sold and monetized even during that time in itself. The income during that time could be triple what we saw in 2024. But there's not a lot other than just the fact that we can invite people in. But what is the tourism like? What is the art like? Other than we're seeing contemporary music, but what about the traditional music? What about culture in itself, how people can embrace culture and monetize culture in itself. All of that, we still need to be developed. And I think one of the areas that we could do that is to educate and continue to provide the enabling environment for the younger people to tap into their creativity and be able to develop it, to develop things. Because not everyone would be a tech, person. Not everyone would learn how to code. And even if all the young people learn how to code, we would have an excess number of tech people with not a lot of creativity. And there's not a lot of placement in Nigeria for these tech people. So what you would end up having is what we call knowledge trade. People traveling out to go find opportunities and then coming back in December themselves to come and enjoy it because they're in search of greener pastures. Because there's not a lot we can provide for them in Nigeria. So we need to develop the younger people. We need to develop their creativity, help them tap into that creativity to develop things, produce things, things that when people come in here, they're buying. We can monetize culture, we can monetize art, we can monetize tourism, we can monetize a whole lot more than just the social graduate itself, which is a good start. But there's a whole lot more potential there that we need to tap into.
Well, I hope that those who are concerned are also listening to this conversation, but we have to thank both of you, Mr. Chubike Good News, who's the CEO of Do Change Digital, as well as Mr. Shola Adekonye, joining us all the way from California. Thank you so much. He is the CEO of Open Innovation Access. Gentlemen, thank you so much for coming on Sunrise Daily this morning.
Thank you.
And we're still Armed Forces Remembrance Day. We're going to be taking this particular mail from Professor Nakena, who says, "We commiserate with our past military personnel who lost their lives in the line of fire and their families, as well as those who continue to bear the pain of their passing the more. Nigerians stand in unity to ensure that the labor and ultimate sacrifice is respected, remembered, and not in vain." It's a fine place to end today's conversation. Thank you so much for being a part of it. I'm Maupe Ogun Yusuf.
And I'm Ayo Makine. Have a beautiful day.